Right now, in this very moment, the universe is speaking to you. It's been speaking to you all along. Every single day of your life, you've been receiving messages, signals, little nudges from something far greater than your thinking mind. The question isn't whether these signs exist. The question is whether you're paying attention. You see, most people go through their entire lives sleepwalking. They wake up, they go through their routines, they complain about their circumstances, and they never stop to notice that life has been trying to guide them all along. They miss the synchronicities. They ignore the coincidences. They brush off the feelings in their gut as mere chance or imagination. And then they wonder why they feel lost, why they feel disconnected, why nothing seems to work out the way they hoped it would. But here's what I know to be true after all these years of studying human potential and spiritual awakening. Life is not random. Life is not chaotic. Life is not something that happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Life is a magnificent, intelligent force that is constantly communicating with you, showing you the way, pointing you toward your highest purpose. And when you learn to recognize these signs, when you learn to trust them, everything changes. Let me tell you something that might challenge everything you've been taught. You are not separate from the universe. You are not a tiny, insignificant speck floating through a cold, indifferent cosmos. You are an essential part of an interconnected whole. You are a cell in the body of the divine. And just like every cell in your body receives signals from your brain, you receive signals from the universal intelligence that created you. These signs come in countless forms. Sometimes they come as repeating numbers that you keep seeing everywhere you go. Sometimes they come as songs that play exactly when you need to hear their message. Sometimes they come as chance encounters with people who tell you exactly what you need to know. Sometimes they come as obstacles that block your path because you're heading in the wrong direction. Sometimes they come as open doors that appear exactly when you're ready to walk through them. But here's the thing. You have to be awake to see them. You have to be present. You have to quiet the noise in your mind long enough to notice what's actually happening around you. Most people are so caught up in their thoughts, so imprisoned by their past, so worried about their future, that they completely miss the present moment. And the present moment is where all the signs are. Think about the last time something happened that you called a coincidence. Maybe you were thinking about someone you hadn't spoken to in years and they suddenly called you. Maybe you needed help with something and the exact right person showed up at the exact right time. Maybe you were struggling with a decision and you opened a book to a random page that gave you the answer you were seeking. These weren't coincidences. These were signs. These were messages from the universe telling you that you're connected, that you're being guided, that you're not alone. Now, I can hear some of you saying, but what about the bad things? What about the painful experiences? Are those signs too? And my answer is absolutely yes. Some of the most important signs we receive come wrapped in difficulty and challenge. Because sometimes the universe needs to get our attention, and it knows that comfort keeps us asleep, while discomfort wakes us up. When you lose a job you thought you needed, that's a sign that something better is waiting for you. When a relationship ends that you were desperately trying to hold on to, that's a sign that you were settling for less than you deserve. When you face an illness or a crisis, that's a sign that you need to change something fundamental about the way you're living. These aren't punishments. These aren't evidence that life is cruel or unfair. These are course corrections. These are redirections from a loving universe that wants you to fulfill your highest potential. I spent years of my life ignoring the signs. I pushed forward with my own agenda, my own plans, my own ideas about how things should be. And you know what happened? I struggled, I suffered, I felt frustrated and exhausted because I was swimming against the current of life. It wasn't until I learned to surrender, to trust, to pay attention to what life was showing me that everything started to flow. When you align yourself with the signs, when you follow the guidance that's being offered to you, life becomes easier. Not because your problems disappear, but because you're no longer fighting against your own highest good. You're no longer forcing doors that are meant to stay closed. You're no longer ignoring doors that are standing wide open, waiting for you to walk through them. Let me share something with you that transformed my understanding of how this works. Everything in this universe operates on energy and vibration. Quantum physics has proven what spiritual teachers have been saying for thousands of years. We are all made of the same energy, and that energy is intelligent. When you send out a thought, a feeling, a desire, you create a vibration, and the universe responds to that vibration by sending you experiences, people, and circumstances that matter. So when you're living in fear, when you're dwelling on what you don't want, when you're focused on lack and limitation, you're sending out a particular signal. And life responds by giving you more things to fear, more experiences of lack, more evidence of limitation. But when you shift your energy, when you start focusing on what you do want, when you cultivate feelings of gratitude and trust and expectation, life responds to that signal too. And the signs start showing up to guide you toward what you're seeking. This is why paying attention to your thoughts and feelings is so crucial. Your inner world creates your outer world. The signs you receive are often reflections of your own consciousness. If you're constantly seeing obstacles, that might be a sign that you need to examine your beliefs about what's possible for you. If you're constantly meeting negative people, that might be a sign that you need to look at the negativity you're carrying within yourself. The universe is a mirror, and it's always showing you where you are vibrationally. Now here's where this gets really practical and powerful. When you start actively looking for signs, when you ask the universe to guide you and then pay attention to what shows up, you develop a partnership with life itself. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance and start feeling like a co-creator of your reality. You begin to trust that you are being led, that there's a plan, that your life has meaning and purpose. I remember a time in my life when I was at a crossroads. I had to make a decision about my career, and I was torn between two paths. My logical mind was telling me one thing, but something inside me felt uncertain. So I did something that changed everything. I asked for a sign. I literally said to the universe, show me what I need to know, guide me toward the right choice. And then I let it go. I didn't obsess over it. I didn't try to force an answer. I just stayed open and alert. Within 3 days, I received my answer in the most unexpected way. I was walking through a bookstore, not looking for anything in particular, and a book literally fell off the shelf in front of me. When I picked it up and read the back cover, it described exactly what I was going through and pointed me toward the path I needed to take. Now, you might say that was just gravity, just chance, just a loosely placed book, but I knew better. That was the universe responding to my request. That was life giving me exactly the sign I asked for. And that's the beautiful thing about this process. The more you trust it, the more it works. The more you acknowledge the signs you receive, the more signs you receive. It's like developing a muscle. At first you might doubt, you might dismiss things as mere coincidence. But as you practice, as you keep noticing and following the guidance, you build a relationship with the intelligence that's running this show. You develop an inner knowing that you can trust. But here's what you need to understand. The signs don't always come in the form you expect. Sometimes we ask for guidance and we're so attached to how we think it should look that we miss the actual guidance when it arrives. We want a billboard with flashing lights that tells us exactly what to do, but life doesn't work that way. The signs are often subtle. They're quiet. They speak in whispers, not shouts. They come through feelings, through intuition, through small synchronicities that you could easily miss if you're not paying attention. This is why meditation is so important. This is why taking time to be still and quiet your mind is essential. When your mind is constantly racing, when you're always distracted by your phone or your to-do list or your worries, you can't hear the whispers. You can't feel the subtle nudges. But when you create space, when you practice being present, the signs become clearer. The guidance becomes obvious. Now let me tell you something else that's crucial. The signs often ask you to do things that don't make logical sense. They often point you toward paths that seem risky or uncertain. They often require you to let go of what's comfortable and familiar. Because growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Transformation doesn't happen when you're playing it safe. The universe is trying to expand you to help you become more than you currently are. And that requires courage, that requires faith, that requires a willingness to trust something greater than your limited human perspective. I've seen this happen countless times in my own life and in the lives of thousands of people I've worked with over the years. Someone receives a clear sign to make a change. Maybe it's to leave a job that's killing their spirit. Maybe it's to end a relationship that's holding them back. Maybe it's to move to a new city where they don't know anyone. And their ego immediately starts screaming at them about all the reasons why they can't do it, why it's too dangerous, why they should stay where they are. But the people who follow the signs, who trust the guidance, even when it doesn't make sense, are the ones who experience miracles. They're the ones who look back years later and say, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't listened to that inner voice, if I hadn't paid attention to that sign. My whole life changed because I trusted. Now, trusting the signs doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean quitting your job without any plan because you saw a bird fly by and decided it was a message. Trusting the signs means developing discernment. It means learning to distinguish between the voice of your ego and the voice of your higher self. Your ego speaks in fear. It tells you that you're not enough, that you can't do it, that you should protect yourself and play small. Your higher self speaks in peace. It tells you that you're capable of more than you know, that you're supported, that you should expand and grow. The signs from the universe always align with your higher self. They always point you toward love, growth, expansion, and your authentic purpose. They never tell you to harm yourself or others. They never encourage you to act from fear or desperation. If you're receiving a message that makes you feel contracted, anxious, or disconnected from your integrity, that's not a sign from the universe. That's your ego or your conditioning trying to keep you stuck. Here's another important thing to understand. Sometimes the signs tell you to wait. Sometimes the message is not yet, or be patient, or there's something you need to learn first. And that's just as important as the signs that tell you to take action. We live in a culture that's obsessed with doing, with achieving, with making things happen through force of will. But there's a time for action and a time for stillness. There's a time to push forward and a time to surrender and trust the timing of your life. When you keep running into closed doors, when nothing seems to be working despite your best efforts, that's often a sign that you're trying to force something before it's time. The universe has perfect timing. Seeds don't bloom the moment you plant them. They need time to germinate in the darkness before they can break through the soil and reach for the sun. Your dreams are the same way. Sometimes the sign is telling you to rest, to prepare, to develop yourself internally before the external manifestation can occur. And this is where patience and faith become so important. We want what we want, and we want it now. We get frustrated when things don't happen on our timeline. But the universe operates on a different schedule than your ego. The universe sees the whole picture, while you only see a tiny fragment. The universe knows what needs to happen, what needs to fall into place, what lessons you need to learn, what connections need to be made before your desire can manifest in a way that's truly for your highest good. Think about it this way. If you received everything you wanted the moment you wanted it, you'd probably still be stuck at a level of consciousness that's far below where you are now. You've grown because of the waiting. You've developed strength because things didn't come easy. You've gained wisdom because you had to face obstacles and figure out how to overcome them. The signs that tell you to wait are just as loving and purposeful as the signs that tell you to move forward. But here's what makes this even more beautiful. When you're truly aligned with the universe, when you're paying attention to the signs and following the guidance, life starts to feel magical. Synchronicities become normal. Miracles become commonplace. You stop feeling like you're struggling against the current and start feeling like you're being carried by a force that's much more powerful than your individual effort. People show up at exactly the right time with exactly what you need. Resources appear from unexpected sources. Solutions to problems present themselves in ways you never could have planned or predicted. This isn't luck. This isn't special treatment for a select few. This is how life works when you align yourself with the natural flow of the universe. And the most amazing part? The signs don't just guide you toward success in the material sense. They guide you toward your authentic self. They lead you to become who you truly are beneath all the conditioning, all the fear, all the false beliefs you've accumulated, because that's what this is really all about. The universe isn't just trying to give you a better job or a bigger house or more money. The universe is trying to wake you up to the truth of who you are. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your history or your circumstances. You are an eternal, spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And the signs are constantly reminding you of this truth. They're showing you that there's more to reality than what your physical senses can perceive. They're inviting you to remember your connection to the infinite. Every time you notice a meaningful coincidence, you're getting a glimpse behind the veil. Every time you experience a moment of knowing that can't be explained by logic, you're touching the divine intelligence that lives within you. Every time you follow your intuition and things work out in ways you couldn't have predicted, you're proving to yourself that you're part of something much greater than your small, separate self. This is why spiritual teachers have always emphasized the importance of awakening. Not because they want you to become religious or follow a particular belief system, but because they want you to wake up to the reality of who you are and how this universe actually works. And the signs are one of the primary ways that life tries to wake us up. When you live in alignment with the signs, when you trust the guidance that's being offered to you, you naturally become more present. You naturally become more grateful. You naturally become more loving and compassionate because you realize that everything is connected, that everyone is on their own path, that life is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it doesn't match your preferences. Now, this doesn't mean you become passive or stop having goals or desires. It means you hold your goals and desires lightly. You do your part, you take the actions you're guided to take, but you don't attach your happiness or your worth to specific outcomes. You trust that if something doesn't work out the way you planned, it's because something better is coming. You trust that every experience, whether you label it good or bad, is serving your growth and evolution. And here's something really important that I want you to understand. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to know your entire life plan. You don't have to see the whole staircase before you take the first step. All you have to do is pay attention to the very next sign. Follow the very next nudge. Take the very next step that's being shown to you. That's it. One step at a time. One sign at a time. Life will never show you the entire path because if it did, your ego would get overwhelmed or scared or would try to control everything. The path reveals itself as you walk it. The signs appear as you need them. This is how trust is built. This is how faith is developed, not by seeing the whole picture, but by following the guidance you're given and discovering that it leads you to exactly where you need to be. I know some of you right now are thinking about specific situations in your life where you're waiting for a sign. Maybe you're trying to decide whether to stay in a relationship or leave. Maybe you're wondering if you should take a risk on a new business venture. Maybe you're questioning whether you're on the right path with your career or your living situation. And you want a clear, unmistakable sign that tells you exactly what to do. So let me ask you this. What if the sign has already come, but you've been ignoring it because you don't like what it's telling you? What if your gut has been speaking to you all along, but you've been overriding it with your logical mind? What if the answer has been trying to surface, but you've been drowning it out with your fears and your need for certainty? The truth is, most of us already know what we need to do. Most of us already have the answers we're seeking. But we're scared. We're scared of change. We're scared of what other people will think. We're scared of making the wrong choice. So we ask for signs, and when the signs confirm what we already know, we dismiss them. We ask for more signs. We wait for bigger signs. We wait for perfect conditions that will never come. But here's what I've learned. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and following the guidance anyway. Courage is trusting that even if you can't see how things will work out, even if you don't have all the answers, even if other people think you're crazy, you're being led by something that knows better than your limited human perspective. And when you take that leap, when you honor the signs, even when it's scary, that's when the magic really happens. That's when the universe shows up in full force to support you. That's when doors open that you didn't even know existed. That's when you look back and realize that everything that happened, including the difficult and painful things, was preparing you for this moment. Life is always giving us signs, but it's also giving us free will. You can choose to ignore the signs. You can choose to stay stuck in situations that aren't serving you. You can choose to let fear run your life. The universe won't force you to grow. It won't drag you kicking and screaming toward your destiny. It will simply keep offering you opportunities, keep sending you messages, keep showing you the way. And eventually, if you ignore the whispers long enough, you'll get a shout. You'll get a crisis that forces you to wake up and pay attention. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can choose to listen to the whispers. You can choose to pay attention to the subtle nudges. You can choose to trust that the guidance is real and that following it will lead you to a life that's more aligned with your authentic self. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start living this way, when you start treating life as a conversation between you and the universe, everything becomes meaningful. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Every experience, every person, every challenge, every joy becomes part of the story of your awakening. You stop being a victim and become a participant. You stop feeling powerless and start feeling empowered. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? This shift in perspective changes everything, because when you're looking for the lesson, when you're looking for the sign, when you're looking for the meaning, you find it. And when you find it, you grow. And when you grow, you expand. And when you expand, you attract experiences that match your new level of consciousness. This is the upward spiral of awakening. This is how you create a life that feels aligned and purposeful and meaningful. Now, I want to address something that stops a lot of people from trusting the signs. They think, if I start believing that everything's a sign, won't I become superstitious? Won't I start seeing meaning in everything and lose touch with reality? And my answer is this. There's a difference between being superstitious and being spiritually aware. Superstition is fear-based. It's about trying to control life through rituals and beliefs that if you don't do a certain thing, something bad will happen. Spiritual awareness is love-based. It's about being open to guidance while still using your discernment and common sense. When you're truly connected to the universal intelligence, you don't become irrational, you become more rational. You don't lose touch with reality. You gain a more accurate understanding of reality. Because the reality is that we're all connected. The reality is that consciousness is primary and matter is secondary. The reality is that there's an organizing intelligence behind this universe, and you have access to it through your intuition, through the signs, through the still small voice within you. So trust yourself. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you have the ability to recognize guidance when it comes to you. And if you're not sure, if you feel confused or uncertain, ask for clarity. The universe responds to clear requests. Say, show me more clearly. Help me understand. Guide me in a way I can't miss. And then pay attention. The answer will come. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way you expect, but it will come. And while you're waiting for clarity, take care of yourself. Nurture your body. Quiet your mind. Spend time in nature. Surround yourself with people who support your growth. Read books that inspire you. Listen to music that lifts your spirit. Create space for the divine to speak to you. Because the signs are always present, but you have to be in a state where you can receive them. You know, one of the most powerful signs we receive is our feelings. Your feelings are messengers. They're telling you whether you're aligned with your true self or not. When you feel joy, peace, love, enthusiasm, inspiration, you're aligned. When you feel fear, anger, resentment, jealousy, anxiety, you're out of alignment. Your feelings are a guidance system that's always available to you. So many people try to ignore their feelings or push them away or numb them with distractions and addictions, but your feelings are trying to help you. They're signs pointing you toward what needs attention in your life. If you feel consistently unhappy in a situation, that's a sign. If you feel drained by certain people, that's a sign. If you feel excited and energized by a particular activity or idea, that's a sign. Listen to what your body and your emotions are telling you. They know the truth, even when your mind is confused. And speaking of the body, physical symptoms can be signs too. That persistent pain in your neck might be telling you that you're carrying too much responsibility. That knot in your stomach might be telling you that you're in a situation that doesn't feel safe. That exhaustion you can't shake might be telling you that you're living out of alignment with your values. The body never lies. It's always communicating with you through sensations and symptoms. Learn to listen to it. This is all part of becoming conscious. This is all part of waking up to the reality that you're not separate from life. You're not a victim of random forces. You're a participant in an intelligent, purposeful universe that wants you to thrive, that wants you to grow, that wants you to remember who you truly are. And the most important thing you can do is to start right now. Start today. Start in this moment. Begin paying attention to what's happening around you and within you. Notice the coincidences. Notice the patterns. Notice the feelings. Notice the thoughts that keep recurring. Notice the people who show up in your life. Notice what flows easily and what requires force. All of it is information. All of it is guidance. Keep a journal if it helps. Write down the signs you notice. Write down the questions you're asking. Write down the synchronicities that occur. When you track these things, patterns emerge. You start to see how the universe has been guiding you all along, even during times when you felt lost or alone. You start to recognize your own patterns of resistance and fear. You start to see how things always work out when you trust. And be patient with yourself. Learning to read the signs is a skill that develops over time. You'll make mistakes. You'll misinterpret things sometimes. You'll follow what you think is guidance and find yourself in a difficult situation. But even that is part of the process. Even the detours teach you something. Even the mistakes show you something about yourself that you needed to see. There are no wrong turns when you're committed to growth and awakening. What matters is that you stay committed to the process. What matters is that you keep your heart open and your awareness alive. What matters is that you trust that life is on your side, that the universe is friendly, that everything is ultimately working toward your highest good, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Because here's the ultimate truth. You are loved, you are supported, you are guided always in every moment, even when you can't feel it or see it or understand it. The intelligence that created you has not abandoned you. It's constantly communicating with you through these signs, through these synchronicities, through this ongoing conversation that most people never tune into. So tune in, wake up, pay attention. Your life is trying to show you something magnificent. Your life is trying to lead you to your highest expression, to your greatest contribution, to the fulfillment of your unique purpose. The signs are everywhere. The guidance is constant. The only question is whether you're willing to receive it. And I promise you this, when you do, when you really commit to living in partnership with the universe, when you start trusting the signs and following the guidance, your life will transform in ways you can't currently comprehend. You'll look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you won't recognize the person you were. You'll marvel at how far you've come. You'll be grateful for every sign you followed, every leap you took, every moment you chose trust over fear. This is your invitation. This is your wake-up call. Life has been giving you signs all along. It's time to start reading them. It's time to start trusting them. It's time to step into the flow of the universe and let it carry you to places more wonderful than you've ever dreamed. The signs are here. The guidance is available. The only thing standing between you and the life you're meant to live is your willingness to pay attention and your courage to follow what you see. So open your eyes, open your heart, open your awareness, and watch as life reveals its secrets to you, one beautiful sign at a time. You know what's fascinating? Children are naturally attuned to this guidance system. Watch a young child follow their curiosity, follow their joy, follow their instincts without questioning or doubting. They haven't yet learned to disconnect from their inner knowing. They haven't been taught to ignore their feelings or override their intuition with logic and reason. Somewhere along the way, we adults forgot how to do this. We learned to distrust ourselves. We learned to value external authority over internal wisdom. We learned to ignore the signs. But that natural ability to connect with universal guidance never leaves you. It just gets buried under layers of conditioning, fear, and false beliefs. And the beautiful news is that you can uncover it again. You can relearn what you once knew. You can return to that state of openness and trust that allowed you to flow with life instead of fighting against it. One of the most powerful practices you can develop is the practice of asking better questions. Instead of asking, why does this always happen to me? Ask, what is this situation trying to teach me? Instead of asking, why can't I have what I want? Ask, what do I need to become to align with my desires? Instead of asking, why am I stuck? Ask, what am I being protected from or prepared for? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your answer. And when you ask from a place of curiosity rather than victimhood, the signs become much clearer. Another thing that helps tremendously is learning to distinguish between your authentic desires and the desires that come from your conditioning. Society tells you what you should want. Your family has expectations. Your peer group has standards. But what do you actually want? What lights you up? What makes you feel alive? The signs will always guide you toward your authentic path, not the path that others think you should be on. And sometimes that means disappointing people. Sometimes that means going against convention. Sometimes that means standing alone for a while until you find your true tribe. Let me tell you something about resistance. Whenever you're about to make a significant change, whenever you're about to step into a new level of consciousness, you'll face resistance. It might show up as fear. It might show up as procrastination. It might show up as sudden drama in your relationships or unexpected obstacles in your path. This resistance isn't a sign that you're on the wrong track. Often, it's a sign that you're on exactly the right track and your ego is freaking out because it's about to lose control. The ego loves familiarity. It loves predictability. It interprets safety as staying exactly where you are, even if where you are is making you miserable. So when you start following the signs toward growth and change, the ego sounds the alarm. It tells you all the reasons why you can't do it, why you shouldn't do it, why it's dangerous or foolish or irresponsible. Learn to recognize this voice, learn to thank it for trying to protect you, and then gently move forward anyway. There's also something important to understand about the concept of surrender. Many people hear the word surrender and think it means giving up or becoming passive. But true surrender is not about quitting or stopping your efforts. True surrender is about releasing your attachment to how things unfold. It's about doing your part while trusting the universe to do its part. It's about taking inspired action without trying to control every detail of the outcome. When you're forcing, when you're pushing, when you're trying to make something happen through sheer willpower, you're not in surrender. You're in control mode. And control mode cuts you off from the very guidance you're seeking. But when you take action from a place of inspiration, when you move forward with faith rather than fear, when you stay flexible and open to different possibilities, you're in the flow. You're working with the universe instead of against it. And here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes the signs tell you to take a break from actively pursuing your goals. Sometimes the message is to rest, to play, to enjoy life without constantly striving for the next achievement. We've been taught that we have to hustle, that we have to grind, that rest is for the weak. But that's not how nature works. Everything in nature has cycles of activity and rest, growth and dormancy, expansion and contraction. You're part of nature. You need those cycles too. When you honor the signs that tell you to slow down, when you respect your need for restoration and renewal, you're actually setting yourself up for greater success. You're refilling your well. You're allowing new ideas and insights to emerge. You're giving the universe space to rearrange things on your behalf. Some of the most significant breakthroughs happen during periods of rest, not during periods of frantic activity. Think about the people in your life as signs too. The person who irritates you is showing you something about yourself that needs healing. The person who inspires you is showing you a quality that you need to develop within yourself. The person who betrays you is showing you where you've been betraying yourself. Every relationship is a mirror. Every interaction is feedback. When you start seeing people this way, even the difficult relationships become valuable teachers. And what about those moments of unexpected joy? Those times when you feel suddenly overwhelmed with gratitude or peace or love for no apparent reason. Those are signs too. Those are moments when the veil between you and the divine becomes thin, when you get a glimpse of your true nature, when you remember that beneath all the struggle and striving, you are already whole and complete. Pay attention to these moments. Cherish them. Let them remind you of what's real and what's temporary. Now, here's another powerful truth. The universe speaks through your talents and natural abilities. The things that come easily to you, the activities that make you lose track of time, the subjects that fascinate you without effort, these are not accidents. These are clues about your purpose. These are signs pointing you toward how you're meant to contribute to the world. Too many people ignore their gifts because they seem too simple or too enjoyable. They think their purpose must involve struggle and sacrifice. But what if your purpose is actually aligned with your joy? What if the things you love doing are exactly what the world needs from you? Stop waiting for permission to be yourself. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your path. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to pursue what calls to you. The signs are already here. The guidance is already clear. You already know what you need to do. The only thing required now is action, small steps, daily choices, consistent movement in the direction of your truth. That's all it takes to transform your entire life. And remember this, you're not just receiving signs for yourself. When you wake up, when you start living in alignment with universal guidance, you become a sign for others. Your transformation gives other people permission to transform. Your courage inspires courage in others. Your willingness to trust helps others learn to trust. You become a living example of what's possible when someone chooses to listen to life instead of fighting against it. This is how change spreads. This is how consciousness evolves. One awakened person at a time, following the signs, trusting the process, becoming who they truly are.